What's happening now is the Army have said, okay, sounds safe. Over to you, Army Sports Control Board, to do a level of assurance and safety checks on each of those. So we put out guidance about what risk assessments have got to be done for each event, and that's whether it's a fixture or whether they're just bringing people in to do centralised training. So, and at corps as well as Army level, that's the event. Each one of those has got to be individually authorised. It's quite a complicated piece, but we're hoping that we can start to get those sports going again as early as next week. So we're looking ideally at sort of 15th, 16th, 17th of July.
Presumably one of the big issues you've got is actually over, if you're getting people together, if it's on a rather more than, say, just a regional basis, of actually the travel, the transport, overnight accommodation, all those sorts of things have to come into the mix. And that must make sort of the wider representative sports, and particularly inter-services, at in-services level, almost impossible at the moment to put into place.
Yeah, inter-services haven't started. We're not starting inter-services yet. We're not even starting, it'd be very limited Army level at the moment. What we're really doing is kick-starting the corps and regional level. The Army's imposed upon us the fact that we can't have overnight activity. You don't need to do a single day event. They're also very clear, of course, that travelling is a real key issue. And so you can't do car share, you can't lob a whole load of people into the back of a minibus and drive them in. You've got to maintain social distancing and you've got to minimise the risk of viral spread. So those two have a major impact. Of course, most of our sports facilities, our clubhouses, changing rooms and all the rest of it, are still shut. So again, you've got the complicating factor of people probably having to arrive changed and depart still in their kit to go back for a shower and everything. So these are, yes, we're lifting the brakes off and getting some sport done, but there are still some very harsh measures that have to be imposed to make sure we're maintaining social distancing and safety. So this is not after you go and away and crack on. This is you have to authorise, I have to authorise each event based on a risk assessment with those factors very clearly understood.
And there will be some other sports that will be able to get going again soon, like solo dinghy sailing and sailboarding as well.
I've mentioned those five that the Army have already said, yeah, start planning now. We are putting together a case for, funny enough, some of them you've absolutely mentioned there. Some of the sailing disciplines, the solo disciplines, some of the motorsport disciplines, because actually, in many respects, as the motorsports keep telling me, it's a bit like equitation. So we've eased the thing on equitation, so we ought to have a close look at motorsports, so we're doing that. They've also asked if we can look at shooting and see if there's individual events in shooting that we can lift the brakes on. And Mike Thornley, the Secretary of Cricket, has asked us to look at cricket, in particular, early training activity to get cricket teams back together again. So again, we're hoping to get the paperwork and the applications in from those additional sports, cricket, shooting, sailing and motorsports. And we will put forward a case into Army HQ to have those hopefully started this month as well. Probably not before the sort of 18th of July, but that's what we're looking at the moment. So yeah, we're looking at the next batch to try and pull them out of the amber and put them into the green.
Well, great news for the cricketers. Obviously, the club cricket scene is actually starting almost immediately, isn't it? Which is great news. And how closely are you working with the Navy and the RAF, because they've had taken a slightly different tack, and they're allowing their personnel to do sport off duty time, but also to use the equipment and facilities that are available to RAF and Royal Navy. Is that roughly what you're doing, but in a slightly different way?
Yeah, in a slightly different way. And I'm also, as you know, I've just taken over as the chair of the UK Armed Forces Sports Board. So I've copied actually just today all this information that we've done through the Army to my opposite numbers in the Navy and the Air Force, and said, look, we're starting now to lift some of the measures to release some of the sports and allow them to carry on. This is how we're doing it. This might be helpful or useful to you. So have a look at it.
Do you see a situation maybe in the not too distant future when it will be possible to get some inter-services events going, like the golf, like maybe the sailing championships or things like that, where you're already practicing what you need to be practicing to be safe, but to actually expand it and allow for that sort of representative level of sport again, which would be a massive step forward?
Yeah, hopefully. And that's exactly it, John. as long as the 3 single services start doing it and demonstrating that we can provide the opportunities safely, and that we're getting all the right procedures in place, then absolutely, it's up then to the UCAF committees, the various sports, to say, yeah, we want to get part of that. Let's get on with it. And we've got all the processes in place now. We can very easily adapt them. And so hopefully, now that we've started, as you say, it's the green shoots, and that should spread quite quickly. Hopefully, most of our sports and in the contact sports, as I said, it's probably not going to start until mid to late September, and I suspect that's not going to change. But some of these other ones, as you described, yeah, absolutely, we're starting now. And if there's appetite and capacity, let's put them up to UCAF level if UCAF committees are ready to start planning.